Welcome, coaches, to the Coaching Magic Podcast, where we reveal, discover, and create the insights, tools, and aha moments that make your coaching seem, well, magical. I'm your host, Jill Young, and I invite you to listen up, giddy up, and buckle up as we play with this creative profession of coaching that helps humans become their best, including you. In today's episode, we are talking with Kristie Clayton. Kristie is the founder of the Female Executive Mastermind. She calls it FEM. It originated as the Female Integrator Mastermind, and she has now expanded this to serving lots of female executives. In today's episode, Kristie and I geek out a lot on creating space, and she shares some of her hacks, which we find a new name for, on how she creates space virtually, on how she creates space naturally, and I really hope that you enjoy this episode. Kristie, I'm so excited you're on the Coaching Magic podcast today because we've been friends. Is this 10 years now? You keep saying it's 10 something years. Is that right? Are we really close?
Sure. Yeah. So
Yes.
I think you and I met. Well, I think it's 8, Jill.
Okay.
Between 8 and 9 years,
Listen,
because
we're just rounding up. It's
I
fine.
know, right?
We can round it up.
So about 8 years ago is when we founded HERverse together, and then you and I were talking for about 6 to 9 months before that, before we finally officially launched. So I think it's close to 9 years, my friend.
That is so exciting to celebrate our friendship. And our love for coaching and our love
Yes.
for all things second in command and HERverse, which is very exciting. I'm going to invite you to play a game. Would you like to play a game?
Yes.
Okay, here's the game. I love these cards. You know I love these cards.
Yes.
I love these cards. And normally I would shuffle them and we would pull one together. And today I did this in preparation. And the first one on top just jumped out at me and said, "This is Kristie's card." So here's the game. There's tons of rules that we must follow. I'm just kidding. Of course I'm kidding. Here's the rules. I'm just going to show it to you.
Okay.
And then we're just going to riff on what comes up for us as it pertains to all things HERverse, second in command, coaching, all the things. How about it?
How fun.
Okay. I'm
Yes,
glad you're excited to play the game. Here it is. Dun, 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 dun. As my lighthouse shimmers for others, it lights my own way too.
Oh.
As my lighthouse shimmers for others, it lights my own way too. And when I saw this, I'm like, yes, this is Kristie's card, because Kristie, my experience of you is that you had this desire to be your best. You had this desire and I want to call it craving. It was a craving to be your best. And you felt that you were your best when you were with others who shared your same role, your same passion. And this card just couldn't be any better. My heart is singing. As my lighthouse shimmers for others, it lights my own way too. So what do you have for us? What's coming up for you here?
There's so many things that are running through my head as you read that out loud. And I think that the interesting piece for me, though, Jill, is really thinking through how I selfishly wanted this mastermind, this group of women, because you're right. I did want to grow. And I wanted to make sure, like, am I doing everything I'm supposed to be doing in this role? Am I doing it right? I don't know. Like, and the integrator role is an extremely lonely role, right? So I need to be connected to my other peers. And so that's how it all kind of got started. But as time has gone, what I've realized is this is my purpose in life. right? Is to bring community together and to elevate women like this. And so when you said that, the first thing I realized is that was my path, right? As her verses continued, it's really like impactful for me I want women to do their best, right? And I want to see them grow. I want to see them develop. But in that reflection, it's also elevated me to my purpose and my passion and what I'm meant to do on this earth.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? And I see a lot of people starting like this too. In any time people come to us for coaching, they're wanting to be their best. They're wanting to do this, but a lot of times, of course, we work with business owners. You and I do a lot, and they're thinking, my business. What can it create for the world? And as coaches, what we often discover is the only thing we can help be their best is the human at
Yes.
the core. And it comes back to the human. And how often then does it come back to the human that is the coach?
Mm,
We
so
can't,
true.
we do not get to bypass that part. Coaches don't get to just help other people. It's always going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And at the deepest level, it's going to our very own core.
Agree, agree. And I don't know about you, but sometimes walking through something with one particular client, their feedback, their responses, what they're experiencing, I can feel that and I can be part of that with them. But then the next client who talks about something similar, I get to use that as part of the story too that I get to coach and experience with them with the next client, right? And so it's just this forever evolving conversations that you get to have because you learn something different every day and you get to experience so many different things. So I agree. It's so cool.
As you were sharing that, it reminds me of our second element of coaching magic, which is energetic listening. And
Yes.
I just got this image of you just gathering these
Mm-hmm.
stories, and then also calibrating
Mm-hmm.
your skills and calibrating your intuition of, okay, I've seen this data a few times. The best definition of intuition is, I'm going to mess it up because I don't have it right in front of me, but it's something like all of this data that is being gathered without going through our frontal cortex that our spirits and our bodies have access to. It's pattern recognition outside of that logic. And as
Yeah.
you are collecting these stories, I'm just seeing and feeling and sensing you just
Mm-hmm.
putting those stories on the shelf so you have access to them. And that's one of the beautiful pieces about being a coach and working with multiple humans and multiple teams is that we get to be a library of sorts, a library of sorts.
Yeah. No,
And
it's so funny because I oftentimes think of my brain like a really big just shelf of information, right? And
oh, do
almost like a
you?
cabinet where, oh wait, I've got that file in there. Let me pull let me open that drawer and like dig through that file and pull it out and remember it.
Wonderful analogy. You've got a cabinet with drawers and files and oh, and what
Yeah.
a fun thing to play with right there. Do you is there something that you could share with the other coaches that you do or you feel or any other thing that happens for you to access those Kristie Clayton files?
Yeah, so it's funny because sometimes some of those files are tucked away deep, way back in the back, right? And so, I just when I'm sitting with someone and I'm listening to them, first of all, I'm engaged in their listening, and
Mm,
listening to them, like trying not to be distracted by anything. But when it does like shift to, okay, now they're asking for guidance, right? And they're asking for how we can help. I do like tend to like just think about like what other experiences do you personally have around this? Or what experiences have you learned from others and how can you now contribute? And I know for me, when I'm coaching, I love to ask more questions than I do provide statements. And so a lot of times when I'm pulling out that cabinet, I'm trying to remember, hey, I remember this story that Jill and I spoke about, 3 years ago. What questions can you ask that will help this person that I'm now engaged in conversation with when I was working through that with Jill together, right? What questions did I ask her then? What responses did she give? What have I thought about since then that I wish I would have asked Jill? And now I get to engage in that conversation with the person sitting in front of me and ask those questions of that person, and and really get them to come to their own understanding of what's going on.
Oh my gosh, Kristie, you've given us so much to riff on in that simple answer. So, on the Coaching Magic podcast, we like to call timeouts, and we're just going to notice what Kristie just revealed to us, some of her magic. The first thing that I noticed is when I asked Kristie, how do you access your library of files and stories? She immediately shared with us that she helps the client access their own library of stories. This is such a beautiful technique, and I don't even know if Kristie, if you've got a list of techniques in front of you. I doubt you do because you're intuitive at this point, but that's okay if you have a list as well.
Mhm.
But she asks the human that she's coaching, her client, what has worked for you in the past? Have you ever been in this or a similar situation ever before? And it's a question. And these questions open portals or doorways for the humans and the teams that we're coaching to access their own story bank, their
Mhm.
own file bank. Kristie, it's just brilliant. And coaches, it's also going to use a word that might offend all of us, but it is meant with love and light. It's really lazy.
Oh, that's
Christy's like, "Wait, are you
interesting.
calling me lazy?" No, I'm not calling you lazy. It's a funny thing. Sometimes coaches feel like we have to have all the answers, and we don't. But our brains are so big and we're so smart because we do have access to all of these things that if we don't tease ourselves a little bit and say, "Oh, it's time to be a lazy coach." Just ask the person what they already know. Ask the person what they think is their first option. We start to feel lazy, like I'm not working very hard,
Yes.
but it's brilliant,
Yeah.
Kristie. You know
Well,
that.
because
It's
because
brilliant.
what I have found, Jill, and I don't know about you, but they know their problem better than I do. They know the people in the room better than I do. They know their company better than I do. And so if I think I'm going to walk into the room and have all the answers for them, I'm very sadly mistaken, right? But if I can get them to ask themselves questions and open up to new thoughts, and sometimes for me it's playing a devil's advocate. Wait, Jill, have you thought about, and asking those type of questions, then suddenly doors are opening for them because they have the answer. They really, more times than not, they have the answer. They just need to bring it out of themselves. And so by asking the right questions, I can help them discover the answer that they already knew.
It's just beautiful. It is what we call coaching magic.
Mhm.
Where Kristie, why do you think, and you can answer this from your own heart or from your observation of other coaches or places you've been in coaching, um, what is your hunch on why it is hard to go from being a boss like you were, an integrator running a whole company, into the mode of coaching from where
Mm,
you were solving problems with your people, and sometimes you had to have the answer or the data,
right.
and then going into being a coach where now you're really asking the questions. I've noticed it's a hard transition for some people. Where do you think that
Yeah.
tension is?
Oh, that's a great question. And as I'm trying to think about like my own journey going from that integrator and running the business to, simply coaching, simply coaching as if it's so simple. Um, It was, I think when I was in the integrator role, it was crystal clear what my roles were, right?
Mm,
These are the things that are in your accountability chart. Like this is the roles, the responsibilities. Here's all the outcomes that we're looking for from you. And I, got to spend time with all of those things. And of course, as integrator, one of my biggest is, coaching and guiding the leadership team to be their absolute most, right? And showing up, showing them how to connect the dots of everything that's happening in the organization. And I think when you remove yourself from that, there's oftentimes a lot of just day-to-day tasks, right? Just check marking off like this is done and this is done. The transition to coach for me was challenging because first of all, now instead of having teams, I'm now more one-on-one. And so I don't have that team environment. But also it really truly was being the person that was relied on for check marking off all the things to now I'm the thought partner.
mm,
Right now, there's not nearly as many like check mark that's done. It's the feeling and the knowing that I contributed, right? So the value that I had as integrator and a lot of the doing has transitioned to more of thoughts, and that doesn't necessarily always immediately translate over, right?
mhm,
And I know leadership team members that do this too, just going from, management to leadership. That's a transition from being the doer to the strategic person. And a lot of people struggle with that. I think that same thing happened when I went from integrator to coach is that was a dynamic shift of doer to strategy. And I'm also, Jill, you and I can talk forever and ever and ever, both of us. And it was a lot less talking and a whole lot more asking.
Gotcha. That is so key. That going from the doing to the thinking, going from the talking to the listening. And if I'm just reflecting on what you've said and how it shows up in the human body,
Hmm.
there's a thing that I will discuss with leadership team members a lot of the times when you're going from doing to thinking that there's some of us, me included, who are actually addicted to having the answer. It's a
Yeah.
dopamine drip in our brain. It's,
Hmm.
I helped somebody today, and it's immediate gratification.
Yes.
Immediate. Somebody says,
Yes.
"Oh, thank you. That's the answer I needed." I'm like, "Ooh, that feels a little good. I got some oxytocin flowing through."
Yeah.
If someone leaves a coaching session, of course, as coaches, we always like to leave the session with some action, even if, 4 hours has been really digging in and exploring and possibility. Well, what is the action? But sometimes we leave the action with, it's an experiment.
Yeah.
And when we're coaching, if someone is really trying to be their best or bring their leadership team to be their best or their company to be their best, there's a lot of experimentation in there
Hmm.
versus this thing is done, that report is filed, this payment is made. And there's a lot of that wonder, wonder and possibility that we leave it in. We got to get our dopamine another way.
Agree.
Yeah. Oh,
And another way to say it true is finding a new way to know your value.
yes.
Right, true, because
Let's
that's where I dug in is where am I valuable now? As an integrator, I knew, right? Oh, we got that big, 90-day goal done, that rock done, check mark. Yes, annuals are all check mark them off. But now as a coach, it's like, well, wait, that's a whole
mm,
nother set of values. And again, instead of check marking it off, like now I've got to figure out how do I know that I'm providing value? How do I know that what I'm doing is making a difference?
let's go there. Can we go there?
Yeah.
Let's go there. This is I think this is a constant for coaches. And for me, it is ever evolving and ever changing. And I'm going to say I almost don't know until the minute I'm in it. I
Yeah.
know it the minute I'm in it, but it's very for me it's been an interesting exercise to like choose 3 uniques. I'm like, yeah, those could be my 3 uniques, but my number 1 unique is just be magic. Whatever whatever magic, is gonna flow through at that moment, and it's just becomes very different in the present moment for everything. And that's interesting to put as a measurable.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what you are unfolding into, as I know you're kind of in the middle of, a transition and upgrade with your programs. I wanna talk about your programs and how you put those together, but I'm getting ahead of myself. How do you measure or give yourself a dopamine drip around knowing that value as a coach?
Yeah, that's such a great question because sometimes we live in a world that's such instant gratification, right?
Yes.
We want to know immediately, and I think what I've started to learn is, wait a minute, it's not always immediate with coaches. Sometimes it's a follow up conversation. Or I can tell you, like for me, my clients will every now and then they'll text me and say, "Hey, I had that conversation with my visionary," or "Hey, I spoke to that leadership team member, and I used the technique that you taught me," or I asked the question that you and I went through, and it worked. And so those things, obviously, yes, I asked the right questions, I provided the right value, but a lot of times it really truly is just hearing those follow ups of watching them. I mean, I've been coaching a couple of my clients for 2 or 3 years now, and, watching them go from, quiet and shy, and you could just tell they were nervous, to now they show up to, their sessions and they're more confident, and, like, their arms, their shoulders are back, and, like, they're presenting, and the questions that they're asking now are, like, so much more, involved and bigger questions than, "Hey, how do I put my accountability chart together? How do I know if my scorecards?" I mean, those are great questions and they're needed. But when they shift to quite the other types of questions, that's when I'm like, "Oh, yes, I've done my job," because they're really asking the right stuff now. And
Mm.
and a lot of times there's things for them to work through in the very beginning, and they just need that. Somebody said it to me this morning. I was talking to a dear colleague, and she asked me over the weekend if she we could talk this morning. And I said, "Of course, I'm always here for you." And at the end of her conversation, she said, "You know what? I just needed to have permission for myself to do what I knew I needed to do, and you gave that to me."
There we go.
Whoa.
That's
That's what we do
beautiful.
for each other.
Yeah.
That's what we can do for our clients. It's give them permission to feel the things that they're feeling, to ask the questions they know they need to ask, to do the things that they know they need to do. But it's just like, am I doing this right? Am I doing enough? Am I not seeing something that I should be seeing? And by asking those right questions, by providing that guidance, now they're ready to go for it. And that was a big moment for me this morning. I was like, wow, like, and especially because this particular person is someone I greatly look up to. Like, I call her for everything. For her to say to me, "Wow, you just gave me permission," was huge. And I knew I provided value to her in that moment.
It's so, it's lovely to receive these stories
Hmm.
of you reflecting on them, reflecting on um, how they have expanded, how they've evolved. And those stories, we keep kind of going back to stories, don't we? Like stories in your file and stories. Those stories are feedback. When we talk about mastery as coaches, and I know you and I geek out on mastery a lot. When we
Yes.
when we think about that word mastery, it's ever evolving, it's
Yes.
ever expanding. And one technique I learned as an early coach is to keep a file, a literal file of those moments when you have touched mastery. Um, I believe I can't rest in mastery. Mastery, it takes, is a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy flowing through this human body. And most of the time, I can rest on my preparation and my skills and my listening. And then every once in a while, we go, boom. We have those moments of mastery where our clients remind themselves of what they already knew.
Yes.
And we get to be in the room. We get to see that happen. So keeping that file folder, whether it's on a Google Drive or a folder. I know I like to keep one on those days where I'm like, oh yeah, I pretty much just told people what to do and yelled at my children. In that reflection, I'll go back and read that file folder and remind myself who I really am. But Kristie,
Yeah.
that was beautiful. You're reminding them who they already are. I love how that client said that to you. I needed permission. And I'm getting the sense that like it was true permission from herself. You just got to witness it.
Yeah. That's all I
Right?
did. I just provided space for her to permission herself. Like,
For her
that's
to
all I
permission
did.
herself.
Just be that listening ear,
Oh
right?
my
That
goodness.
person who truly, and I think that's a big part of coaching too, is truly listening, right? It's not
Mhm.
just listening to respond, but it's making sure the person on the other side, they feel seen, they feel heard, they don't feel alone, and that there is solution. They just got to figure out what the solution is, right? And whether that's providing guidance or asking the right questions so they can solve it themselves. But that's such a huge part of what we do. And I was just so honored this morning to be able to provide that space.
And we're so honored that we get to receive that story right here this morning, just after you heard it. How fun is that?
I know.
We love synchronicities in coaching magic, so
Mm.
that was really fun. Kristie, let's talk about coaching here from this just from a different angle here. You have you have had this beautiful path of unfolding into discovering that you wanted to be a coach.
Mhm.
And it's I don't know how long you've been doing this professionally, which means you charge for it, but I know from the moment I met you, you are a coach. You're a coach.
Mm.
I think
Thank you.
I've been a coach since I was born. It's just one of those things that some of us are born with. Could you talk about your discovery or your creation, whatever way you like to look at it, of when maybe you had that aha that you had a desire to coach, that you were innately a coach? Could you share that story with us, or maybe just some insights that are floating around right now that might be valuable?
Yeah. So I think similar to you, I think I've always known I've been kind of that leader coach for a very, very long time, probably since childhood as well. And because I think back to scenarios that I was always the person who was kind of guiding everybody, right? And hey, we're going to do this project and you're going to do this piece and you're going to do this piece and you're going to do this piece. And oh, by the way, if you don't know how to do your piece, I'm going to coach you on how to do it even better because you're doing the bare minimums and we need bigger than that. Right? Girl needs an A+ on her paper, right? Like, you can't
Or in
skip
my
out
case,
on
I
me.
would just do it for you. And
Exactly.
that's not girly. I get it.
So I've always had kind of this ability to be able to kind of do that. And I think really truly where I decided and realized that, wow, like I want to be a coach, like professionally, this is what I want to do, is when I started mentoring integrators. Integrators who were, 3 or 4 years into their journey, and so they were, I was about 7 years into mine, and so they were just behind me, and I was like, man, like I love being able to share skills with them that I've learned personally, and by the way, when you're a mentor or a coach, like you learn so much from them too, right? So I loved this aspect of being able to like give and take, and I can learn from you, you can learn from me. And then, like I said, I just had this pivotal moment in my life where people would ask me, they would say, Kristie, when you talk about the firm, the wealth management firm where I was the integrator, they're like, you glow, like you're so excited about the things that you're doing. But when you talk about the women and the coaching and, fem and the HERverse, like you just like your passion just like exudes and it just like comes out of you. Like, why are you not doing that full time? And I was like, full time? Like, that's my passion project. Like, I'm a full-time integrator. Like, what is happening here? And so many people started asking me that question that's when I had that realization of, well, wait a minute. I need to do some self-reflection here and really truly think about what is my future and what is my purpose. Is my purpose on this planet to be an incredible integrator that's running companies? Or is it to be the coach that's helping other integrators and have a bigger impact with working with all of them and their companies that they're impacting? And a lot of self-reflection. I probably, I do weekly clarity breaks, and I bet you for 6 months this was on my list every single Friday. You know, what is your purpose? Like, what is your passion? Like, why are you doing something that I loved being an integrator. Like I did, I loved running that business. But is that your purpose? And I think when I really like finally like just realized, wait a minute, your purpose is different than what you love, there was no question for me. Like I immediately starting, and my coaching has gone through its own evolution, right? Where I thought I had to have a program. You know, I've got to have a program that's got all these steps in it and all these tools and all of these resources. And what I realized is, wait a minute, that's again questioning my own value. Is that what people are, what integrators come to me and they say, hey, I want you to be my integrator coach. Are they getting value out of the things that I'm giving them, or do I need to create something different? And I realized, wait, I just need to create space for them, right? And all the tools and all the resources that I created, I would give that to them when they needed it, not when I said they needed it.
Oh, Kristie, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
We
it was,
are we are getting a full, beautiful picture of this timeline, this evolution of
yeah.
a coach. And Christie's just given us so many great nuggets of the evolution of the life of a coach. And it can be so creative. And there is no one way to be a coach.
No.
And Kristie created some of her own tools and is like, this is my program. And then maybe let's dig into that, because I remember coaching you when you were creating this program, and I remember us saying, okay, well, it could be this way, or what about this, or what, we
Mhm.
just really tried to keep it open as possibilities. I think a lot of coaches do feel like we need to offer something tangible. The 3-step process, the 3 ways to get everything, make all your wildest dreams come true. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, where was the evolution of where you let go of a little bit of that programming? Can you
Oh,
can
yeah.
you dig into that feeling or moment?
Yeah, it was there was a few times early on with my some of my clients from the very beginning where they would say to me, "That's great, Kristie. I appreciate that. But what I really need is." And then I was like, "Well, wait a minute." I really sat back and I asked myself, am I providing them a program that is built for me, or am I providing value to them? Like, what do I want?
Mm,
Do I want to be a program, or do I want to be a value? And for
mm,
me personally, that's a no-brainer for me. I'm always like, I want to provide value to them. So instead of telling them what they need from me, I now let them ask me what they need, and then we're able to build back into it. So the fact that I had a program and I built out all these tools and all of these resources was incredibly valuable, because now I can just take those, and when they ask for them, I can be able to, give them to
mhm,
them. But what I found is they have their biggest needs. And if I'm telling them, hey, your accountability chart is your biggest need, let's dive into that. And they're like, my accountability chart's good, girl. I don't even need to look at that. What I really need help is over here in this. Then am I meeting my agenda or theirs? And so that was the big question I asked myself. Am I meeting my agenda or theirs? Am I providing a program, or am I providing value? And that's where I decided, whoa, wait a minute. I'm going to restructure how I do my meetings, my sessions with them. And I have an agenda. not surprised, integrator brain, right? I'm not full on visionary. I do have integrator in me.
Oh,
But I I do have a non-agenda agenda, right? Where it's,
that's
hey,
right.
this is loosely what we do. You know, and so providing that space for them just to be able to ask whatever questions they need to ask is fantastic. Now I can tell you there's going to be another evolution to the program where I will have my coaching clients that they get one-on-one sessions with me, but then all this time that I've put together for the program, I'm going to be able to offer that in quarterly segments so that because they may not realize that, oh, wait a minute, I do have a gap or a hole here, and I want to make sure they're getting those things fulfilled too. So they'll be able to have group sessions with everybody going through the program, but then one on one to get their need met, their value met, so that they're not feeling like, wow, that was great, but it's not what I needed.
Kristie, just you have again given us a really good example of what my friend Elena Snyder calls artful noticing. Artful noticing. You noticed this is not, they're like, Kristie, that's great, but this is what I really need. And coaching, what I found is coaching is always co-creating.
Hmm.
If we have a program that we think they need to know all these things, it is teaching.
Yes.
There's a space for teaching, coaching magic school. There's teaching, but
Yeah.
also I'm very I notice, and the plan is I teach for 3 minutes or 7 minutes or 4 minutes, very very simply, and then okay, now where are we going to take this? And
Yes.
that's what I sense that you found too. It's like, what do you need? What do you need? Coaches love tools.
Hmm.
Coaches, we have tools. We have tools. We have tools. We have tools. But just going back to that shelf that you gave me that beautiful visual of having all those stories, in a file folder on a shelf. It's the tools can sit on the shelf
Yes.
until they are needed. And that tends to be when adults learn best anyway, is when there is a moment of pain, a moment of need. Like I need to get unstuck. They're feeling some tightness or some tension there,
Yeah.
and then we can pull out the tool. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly, because if I teach you something that you don't really care about in the moment, then yeah, it's just and it's with all due love and respect, it's a waste of your time and mine,
That's
right? Because
right.
you didn't receive what I just said anyway.
That is right. That is right.
But if I'm helping you with your biggest need, then I'm providing value to you.
In the moment, right in the present moment,
Yeah.
which is where coaching magic lives. It's just presence, presence. I also want to pull on a little thread here, pull on a glimmer that you said just to highlight it for myself, highlight it for the rest of the coaches listening. And it's that you had this aha moment of they don't need a program. And then you did use the words, they just needed the space. They just needed the space. What is, I know you are, you do a lot of your stuff virtual, but how do you create that space where people can unfold in your presence, where they feel safe? What are some of
Yeah.
those elements of space?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. It's a harder one for me because I do think it's one of those innate things that I have. That I when I meet somebody, I'm always amazed when I meet somebody new. And like the first like 2 minutes, they'll tell me their whole life story, and they're like, "I've never told anybody that before, and I have no idea why I just told you that." And I'm like, "I don't either, but
Mm.
apparently you needed to talk about it, my friend."
Mhm.
So I think it's just one of those things that's very natural for me that people love to share and they share anything and everything. But also is just leaning into that too. I'm starting to really recognize what are you doing to create that space?
Yes.
Because I will
Or
tell
who
you,
are you being? There's a doing
yeah.
and a being. Yep.
Exactly, exactly. Because I did Unique Abilities by Dan Sullivan, and creating space is actually one of my very unique abilities. And so I was just leaning into that, like what spaces am I creating? Where am I creating them? How am I creating them? And a lot of it comes down to that really like deep connection, right? Like when I schedule a meeting with somebody, I every put everything away, and I am engaged, and I am focused on them and them only. And so I try to show up just as myself, just who I am. And so you get the bubbly, you get the smiles, you get warmth and everything that everyone says about me. But I'm so engaged with you and who you are, and I try to not be distracted by anything. And sometimes just by creating that space of like, hey, come in, like you've been into my virtual office, so it looks like an office. So it's inviting in itself, but just creating that invitation for them to like just come in and be you and who you are. Oftentimes we'll get them to open up about things that, like I said, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I just met you 2 minutes ago and I literally told you things that I've never told anybody before. And I'm always, wow,
Is it
what an
good?
honor. What a privilege that is that people
Yeah.
can do that with you.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, just engaging though that and creating that environment where people um they know they can trust you. They feel the warmth. They feel welcomed into, a space that's been created. So that's all very intentional now of just watching. What do people respond to? What do they not like? Where do I see them like, kind of moving away from that? Well, let's remove that obstacle and, you know, create a space where people do feel welcome to always be in. Now, my working genius is also galvanizing and wonder. So I'm constantly in that wonder mode of how do we improve? How do we make this better? How do I make sure I'm showing up as my best for people? So I think it's something I innately do, but there's also like ways that I'm intentionally trying to build on it now.
Yeah. I'm hearing in you describing how you create space. It reflecting that it feels like you're just very in tune, but you're first in tune with yourself. It's like where am I? Who am I? You're digging into those assessments and claiming those words for yourself that you really want to own. But then you're also really in tune with who is in your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll use the phrase serve those who show up, meaning I'm in an Uber. I'm in a buying groceries in line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I had a friend text me this morning and say, "Hey, I could use your help with something." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm free at 3:30." So it's that you're present with who is in your presence. And
Mm-hmm.
coaches, if you didn't catch it, she says, I put everything else away. And in the rest of the world that is becoming increasingly harder to do for any human to put
Yeah.
everything else away. In coaching magic, we call it emptying. I'm going to put my own stuff right here in this tunnel of slowing down. I'm going to put my own stuff right there so I can be 100% a loving being with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Fully
it's,
here with you
yeah,
and you
fully
only.
here and you only. What a
Which does
gift.
mean though that,
What a
Jill, I'm
gift.
not distracted by emails, right? I'm not
Yes.
distracted by notifications popping up on my screen, or I always turn my phone upside down so I can't, not only can I not hear it because it's on silent, but I also don't see all the things popping up on it. You get me and a pen and a notepad because I
Mm.
am a note taker. So I do love to jot things down as we're talking. But I'm fully engaged in you. And that starts, I believe that actually starts with my morning routine. Right. So I go through my my affirmations every morning. I write down all my meetings for the day. I write down my commitments. But then I've also am giving myself permission. I'm giving myself permission that it's okay for me to not have to engage in emails or in
Mm.
the team Slack immediately. If they have something going on that is like it's life or death, they will figure it out. Like I don't have to be the one that responds immediately. If a client is reaching out, again, what I do is not life or death. I'm not in an ER. I'm not in a hospital. Like if somebody has to wait 30 minutes to get a hold of me, it will be okay. It will
Mm.
be okay because I need to be here with Jill. I need to be
Mhm.
here with a person who's in front of me. Just like when you're in front of me, I want to be able to give you that entire attention, all of that focus too.
It's just really coming down to you're creating space with your presence.
Yeah.
Coaches, if you haven't noticed, Kristie didn't talk about the couch or the paint color, drinks or snacks, creating space. Those are space things too, especially if you're coaching in person. Coaching virtually, I have found that my skills adapted. I've been coaching virtually for 5 years now. I do in-person coaching for teams and virtual coaching, but my skills and my intuition, my intuning, um, adapted, and I was surprised and delighted at somehow I'm able to look at Kristie in the eyes and in the camera at the same time. Um, I can I can sense things. I can sense when things are funky, and the way I'm sensing those is I sense it in my own body first. And then I'm like, hey, if I'm feeling funky, somebody else on the call might be feeling funky too. Kristie, do you have any of those virtual space um, things that you do when you are coaching? Any magic tricks you'd like to reveal
Oh,
to the coaching magic
yeah.
coaches?
If it's a one-on-one, then, I love, just like we start with L10s or anything else, it's that personal connection, right?
Mm.
So, what I do with my clients is, it's not a good personal, good professional check-in. It's, hey, where are you really at check-in? Because in meetings, the good stuff is great, a great way to start us off. But when I'm coaching and I need to know where you're really at. So I always start off with, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your head, heart, and your body? And some people will just give me one number and say, this is where I'm at today. Some people will actually break it down and say, hey, my head is this because of this. My heart is this because of this. And my body is this because of this. And those numbers can be all over the place. But now, like, I know how to engage with them, right? If they're not feeling well, I can give them permission. Hey, is now a good time for us to talk? If you're not fully present and you're distracted by your body, whatever it's doing, it's okay for us to meet later. We can meet later this week, when you're feeling better. If they're feeling fantastic, like I can now engage in that excitement, that celebrate. I can celebrate with them, right? But by getting down to the real stuff, not just the pretty stuff, now I know how to fully engage and we can have great conversation. And then I would also say, like, one of the big things for me is I love when I'm in a space where, because I'm usually most of the time one-on-one, but I do have, space where I do some group coaching. And so when I'm in those group coaching, it's really important to me to always engage with every person as they're like entering the room and just, hey, how are things going? And, oh, Jill, it's so great to see you. And just those quick moments like that, people feel seen, they feel heard again, and it's like, "Oh, she noticed me," right? And that makes them feel, it makes them feel welcome and makes them feel present.
Ah, Kristie, such beautiful and delightful connection hacks. I don't even like the word hacks. It's connection threads, bows. What other word could we come up with? Connection, noticings, something more delightful than hacks. But just tying this into a few of our coaching magic elements, Kristie is masterful with it doesn't take her a lot of time. It's saying people's names when they jump on, um, giving an invitation. Here we go. Sending out invitations
It's my favorite one.
for people. It's her favorite. For people she's coaching to check in with themselves. How am I feeling? Did you say head, heart, and body? Is that what you
Head,
said?
heart, body. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It was a beautiful, and it can be quick. There's so many, sometimes we say coaching is magic because it's magical in its effects. But this invitation that she's made for me to reflect on head, heart, and body, beautiful, beautiful. Also, she's saying everything is allowed. Everything is allowed.
Absolutely.
We may have had this appointment on the calendar for 9 o'clock on Monday morning. And what is showing up right now? Whatever is showing up right now, Kristie, is ready to serve whatever is showing up right now. Everything is allowed. And that's how she's creating space. Just beautiful, Kristie.
Oh,
This
and
is
you and I
so
have
fun
talked
to
about this
reflect with.
before, but the coaching magic, all the skills there, it's so crazy to me how they just all interweave together to like it I don't think I've been able to sit back and just be able to identify one of the tools, that's happening. It's like, no, wait, there's three of them that are happening right now.
In fact, Kristie, on Friday, Kristie is graduating from Coaching Magic. It's a very exciting event. And the dissertation, every time we have a graduation day from Coaching Magic, the very serious dissertation is to create compounds with the 11 elements. So
Mm,
everybody in Coaching Magic is creating their own compounds because they're not separate. The only reason we separate them is to study. But very, very rarely is there just something out there going, oh, it's just creating space. No, it's creating space. But send out an invitation into the space.
yes.
And then you allow it all and you share it all and
Hmm.
you're having your energetic listening. So yes, it's these 11 elements that are swimming. I like to imagine them, they're just swimming around coaches and we just go pluck, 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 pluck,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is what is the situation or the moment calling for right now? They're just
Yes.
they're like vials of potions sitting on our shelf and we get
Mhm.
to mix and match and stir them in the cauldron if we want to, because that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And now all the elements are in my little cabinet that I can pull out a file.
Exactly. Oh, coaches, Kristie, possibly the last thing we'll talk about here is the beautiful realization. You talked about mentoring, coaching, that coaches need coaches.
Yes.
You and I have geeked out on that a lot. And even through what you shared with us today, your intuition, the creating space, you're just asking a curious, lazy in air quotes question because people already know. That's the cool thing. They already know. Um, Can you share maybe some powerful experiences or some insights that you've gained from just that principle that we know as coaches, that coaches need coaches? Well, actually, I like to say coaches need coaches, but great coaches want coaches.
100%. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to hear you say that too, because it's the first question I ask a coach is, who is your coach? Because I want to know, like, if I want to be a really great coach, then I need to practice what I preach, right? And even in HERverse, I'm part of a peer group. Why am I part of a peer group? Because I truly believe that peers are a piece of the puzzle. I believe every executive leadership team, there's three things you need. You need a great operating system. Check mark. That is a beautiful way to run your business. A peer group. Oh, that was a game changer for me when we created HERverse and I could now talk to my peers. But then the like icing on the cake for me was when I got my very first coach. My level of just growth and development, like I was doing pretty good and I was kind of steadily increasing. But when I had a combination of all three, my acceleration, like it was like just a skyrocketed, right? I was like, oh my goodness. Like, and it wasn't one piece versus another. It was all three of them together. So it is something I ask who is your coach? Because I want to make sure you are practicing what you preach too. Because if you think you're going to coach me or anybody else, I want to know you're doing
Uh,
what you say to do too,
yes.
right? Um,
Absolutely. I
because it
ca
is. I mean, it's different, right? We need just like the people that are coming to us, our clients that are coming to us and asking us all of these questions, and they're asking, for guidance, and they're wanting to, oh, we need that person that's helping us, and growing us and saying, I mean, I could one of my coaches, and she's been my coach for like 7 years now. She's absolutely incredible. She will always like hold that mirror up to me and ask me the right questions of when I feel like maybe I haven't done my best as a coach, and I'm like, I feel like there's other questions I could have asked, or I feel like there's something that, I should have provided, or shitting on myself, right? Um, but I should have done this and I should have done that and I could have done that. And she's like, well, wait a minute, calm down, hold the mirror up. If you had someone who was sitting in the seat across from you and you were their coach, what would you be saying to them? So she's
Mhm.
able to do for me what I'm able to do for others. And it's just this magical moment of magic. I love it. It's this magical moment of being able to make sure that I'm still growing, I'm still developing, and having my peer group, having my coach really truly are the ones that continuously elevate me. Not only do they elevate me, but they push me, right? I can tell you one of the best experiences that I had recently with a peer group was when we went to Dallas for our retreat. Jill, and you came in and spoke to us, and that was absolutely incredible and amazing. But I was in the hot seat, right? And I had this thing that I was really, really, really scared to share with people. But as I was sharing with them, hey, this is the idea I have. This is what I'm thinking. This is what the outcome's going to look like. Like, this is what I need. They were able to like pour into me and to be able to not only like provide me with like more solution and things that I had not been thinking of, but they really challenged me to think bigger. Why are you're thinking small, my friend? You're keeping yourself. What if you did this? And it was like, oh, wait a minute. Did you just gave me permission to think even bigger, right? And now my between my coach and my peer group, I was terrified before taking it to either this thing to either one of them. And now my coach helped me guide me through, hey, these are some things like ask yourself these questions. What are you doing? What is your outcome? What are you going to do with that? And ask me beautiful questions that really got me to open up to what is really going on? What are you really trying to do here? And then taking it to my peer group and saying, okay, I think I've got this and here's what it looks like. And then they just planted those seeds of why are you playing small, right? That's still small. Man, that this new thing has turned into something incredible, and I'm just so excited to share it with the world.
Kristie, your story, when I asked you, why do coaches need coaches? You you've answered it for me with your story, and it's all about transformation.
100%.
When coach what are we doing as coaches? We are only valuable when a transformation has occurred.
Mhm.
Oh, big, little, small, all all transformations. But when someone can see life differently and then live life differently, a transformation. And you just gave us this beautiful story and insights of where you transformed because of coaching, because of your peer group. Self coaching is also brilliant. But to have now empathy and you get this feeling in the vibe, what it feels like in your body as you are transforming, I'm just getting this sense you get on the transformation superhighway and you get
Uh-huh.
more access to uh, what what needs to come through you for your clients if they're stuck, what needs to come through to your clients while they're in your presence. And if coaches don't have coaches, if we're not constantly in that feeling and vibe of transformation, I can see and I can feel, and I have in my life thought, oh, I know everything now. I don't need a coach. I know all the steps and da. I know what that feels like in my life when I'm not in active coaching, and it feels off. It feels like I got
Yeah.
off the ramp, off the exit.
Yeah.
So you just stay in transformation. That's why we need coaches. I don't
Yeah.
know that I've ever quite said it that way before, but am I picking up what you're putting down?
Yeah. Yes, yes, because I will tell you, during this most recent, story that I was sharing, one of the things that I sat back and kind of self-reflected on for just a moment is, wait a minute. This is the exact same, like I could feel the transformation happen in me. And then I remembered it happening to a client where she shared the same thing that I had done this for her. And I was like, I get to understand how my clients feel too, because I get to experience it with my coach too. And I think that is so important.
Oh, Kristie, that's a beautiful way to end this episode. I have often felt that, and it's almost like you can't describe it. But if we did, it's that moment when the light turns on.
Yeah.
It's whoosh, and you can feel it. That's why I'm in coaching, because I'm addicted to that feeling.
I
That
love it.
feeling where that light turns on for people, for humans, for teams, for other coaches, for integrators, for second in commands, humans that we get to serve. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, but more than that, thank you for being you. Thank you for following your passion, staying in this game with us. Thank you for being a beautiful, beautiful gift to the profession of coaching, to women integrators. Thank you. I love you. The universe loves you. Coaching Magic loves you.
No,
Thank you.
thank you,
Thank
my
you.
friend. I appreciate you letting me be here and share my experience. And I love you to pieces, my friend. So I'm always here.
Likewise. I'll see you on Friday for your very intense dissertation.
I can't wait.
Bye. Thank you for playing with me today in the land of coaching magic. If you want more magic, I invite you to explore www.jillyoung.com. This is where you can see all the shenanigans I've created for you to expand your world of coaching. See you there. And remember, you are magic.